Hello, I'm Reverend Dr. Jeffrey Goodine, pastor of Church of Will Spoken Word out of Deltona, Florida. And thank you for tuning in tonight. This is Bible study, April 11, 2024. Thank you all for coming tonight. Thank you for not thinking it robbery to take time out your busy schedule to join with us tonight. Thank you for those of you that are tuning in on the airways. Like us on YouTube, and Pastor Jeffrey Goodine. Subscribe and hit the bell to be notified. You'll be notified every time a new video is posted. Like us on Facebook. Follow us at our Facebook group page, Church on Wheels, Let the Good News Roll. Our Facebook Live, I'm Jeffrey Goodine. Twitter, which is now X, at Goodine Jeffrey. Instagram, Goodine Jeffrey. And Clubhouse, Church on Wheels Ministry. Tonight we are continuing our Power of God's Names by the author Tony Evans. And I don't know why this won't go in here. What is the problem? Oh, I see the problem. Cockpit error. And tonight we are doing El Elyon, which is the Most High God. Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, Clubhouse. Send me an email at Pastor Jeffrey Goodine. That's an email at Pastor Jeffrey Goodine. I'll add you to the list, and you will get a copy of the handout so that you can follow along with us. If you send me an email, I'll make sure you get added to the list, and then you will get a copy of the handout. So when you tune in, invite a friend, have a watch party, you'll be able to follow along with us in Bible study. Tonight, El Elyon, the Most High God. And this takes place, really the foundation of this is in Genesis chapter 14. And what happened really is the Most High God steps in a situation that Abram was. So in the gist of it is that these kings warred against the king of Sodom and the king of Gomorrah, Sodom and Gomorrah. And they came and they took they took captives, and they took all of the, they just raided them. Well, Abram heard about it and realized that they had taken Lot, which is his nephew. And so he went after him. And, he only had a few people. I think it was 330 something. I wrote that number down. 318. It turned out to be 318 men that he took, and he went to war after these mighty armies of kings. And God delivered them into his hands. And one of the kings tried to make a deal with Lot that if you give me all the stuff you took, then, we kind of even. You take part, I take part. And Lot and Abram said, no, I didn't win that war. The Most High God did. See, in our battles, when we come out on the other side, when we come out victorious, we know that it wasn't us. But we got to give credit where credit due. The Most High God did. And so Abram wanted to make sure that he didn't take any credit for it, because he couldn't take any credit for it. So it was the Most High God. And when we talk about the Most High God, that is that whatever he orchestrates, that's what's going to happen. And here we see that, you know, he only had a few people, and he went after some very powerful kings. He went after some very powerful kings. He went to get his nephew Lot. And he knew that it was God that did that. It wasn't him. He wasn't going to take any credit for it. But in the gist of it, the king of Sodom wanted him to take credit for it. And he wanted to take some credit too by saying, okay, we could split the spoils. And Abram just wasn't having it. He just wasn't having it. He wasn't having it. And then he met Melchizedek, and we'll get into Melchizedek in a little while. And he gave him a tithe, a tenth of what he had. And he was blessed, Melchizedek. And then we will show the correlation between Jesus Christ and Melchizedek. In the Bible, it will show you that Jesus is on the order of Melchizedek. Jesus Christ is in the order of Melchizedek. So if Melchizedek is the high priest, then Jesus could be considered the high priest. So the basic of us tonight is Genesis chapter 14. Genesis chapter 14, and we're starting at verse 1. But in the handout, I put, knowing God's name does not automatically or immediately change all of life's realities. But knowing God intimately through his names does provide a sustaining hope in the darkest of times. When heaven decides to move, everyone else needs to adjust. When El Elyon lays down a decision, he will see his decision through, and he will make a way where there seems to be no way from a human point of view. Now, when we look at Genesis chapter 14 at the beginning, you'll see that these were the kings, and they came and they, you know, they went at them. You see in verse 8, it says, and there went out the king of Sodom and the king of Gomorrah and the king of Ammon, the king of Zebulun and the king of Bela, Zor, and they joined battle with them in the Vale of Siddim. So they went out to war. These kings came to get them, and they tell you who they were. Bera, the king of Sodom, and Bersha, the king of Gomorrah, Shinab, the king of Admah, Shemember, the king of Zebulun, and the king of Bela, which is Zor. And they joined together that they were going to fight these people. And they made the decision to go and fight. Well, when they went to fight, they got beat. They got beat. There was a slime pit. They fell in the slime pits or the tar pits or whatever you call it. And everybody else went to the mountains. And verse 11 says, and they took all the goods of Sodom and Gomorrah and all their victuals and went their way. Verse 12 says, and they took Lot, Abram's brother's son, which is a nephew, who dwelt in Sodom. Now this was Lot now had left the camp, and now he was part of Sodom. And when you read in, you'll notice that Lot had become an elder per se. He would sit at the gate where the elders and so everybody knew Lot. But this was Abram's nephew. And then they came in verse 13 said, and they came and somebody escaped and they told Abram, the Hebrew. And Abram got his servants, 318, and went after them. Now, 318 men against an army. With God on your side, you winning, as far as I'm concerned. But here the Most High God was with him. So when he went out, this was Abram's rescue mission. Abram's rescue mission. And his rescue mission was to rescue the things that were taken from Sodom and Gomorrah. This was before it was destroyed. So he went to get Lot. He got 318 men together. He said, we're going to get my nephew. And when he went, and the Bible says, and he divided himself against them. He had his servants by night and smote them and pursued them unto Hobah, which is on the left hand of Damascus. And he brought back all the goods and also brought again his brother's Lot and his goods and the woman also and the people. Now, the Bible says that he went out and he won. Well, when you read the beginning, you'll see that those were 4 kings. Army that went out. And so, when we think about Elyon, the Most High God, that is what was used. That's the foundation for Abram to be able to think that he could get 318 people and go fight an army. In fact, 4 armies in essence. To go fight 4 armies over just one big battle. 318. And he came out victorious. The Bible said he brought back all the stuff that was taken. So, something had to happen. Some divine intervention had to occur because it was only 318 that went after an army. That went after an army. So this instance is God's name, and I put here, battle, defeat, and rescue introduces this name of God. El Elyon, the Most High God. Now think about it. We go through battles, we're defeated, but then there's a rescue mission. And that is El Elyon when we see him as the Most High God. When we see him as the Most High God. Now, being the Most High God, there is something that we have to understand. So we go to verse 17. It says, and the king of Sodom went out to meet him after his return from the slaughter of Chedorlaomer, and the kings that were with him. And Melchizedek, king of Salem, brought forth bread and wine, and he was the priest of the Most High God. And he blessed him and said, blessed be Abram of the Most High God, possessor of heaven and earth. Now he was blessed. And he blessed him. And blessed be the Most High God. Now this is Melchizedek coming out to meet him. And he was blessed. So here in the handout, I put the king of Salem, and I did a reference, Melchizedek, he meets Abram. Salem aligns with the Hebrew word shalem, which means peace. A derivative of shalem is shalom, which means complete, sound, content, and peace. Now, and I put here, most Jewish commentators concur that Salem is Jerusalem, the city of peace. So Melchizedek, the king of Salem, they're saying he was the king of Jerusalem, what we would know today. But it is the city of peace. And he brought bread and wine to Abram at the battle. And then he came as the priest of Elyon, Melchizedek. Now he brought bread and wine to him. And Melchizedek here, in you see verse 18, he was the priest of the Most High God. So if Melchizedek is the priest of the Most High God, he's representing God. So God saw him, and God is being represented to Abram through Melchizedek. Melchizedek is the priest of the Most High God. So he's representing God. And he blessed him. And he said, and blessed be the Most High God, which hath delivered thine enemies into thy hand. Now, when we see what Abram has done, Abram goes to war with less people. And he wins the war and brings back all of the stuff. Now, here is how we know that some people want to take credit for what is done. Now, when we see in verse 18, and Melchizedek brought him bread and wine, he was the priest of the Most High God. And verse 19, he blessed Abram. And he said, blessed be Abram of the Most High God. So that means that Abram also is of the Most High God. Possessor of heaven and earth. That is the Most High God. That's El Elyon. Possessor of heaven and earth. So when, after the battle, when Abram came back, when he got back with all of the goods and everything and all of the people, Melchizedek, which is the priest of the Most High God, blessed him. Blessed him. Because he said that they delivered your enemy into your hands. He delivered the enemy into your hands. Now, remember now, we're talking about 318 people going to fight a battle, what I would call a no-win situation from a human perspective. A no-win situation. But he went. That meant he knew he had God on his side. So if we got God on our side, you know, we can go fight any battle. We're not worried about the enemy. He wasn't worried about the enemy. He was going to get his nephew Lot and all the other stuff that was taken, because, you know, his nephew now is a part of Sodom, and you know, we know this, you know, if you don't know the story of Sodom and Gomorrah, please go read the Bible, you'll see it. But that's before this was happening. This was before he became Abraham. Lot had already left the camp and associated himself with Sodom. And he became an elder in Sodom. He used to sit at the gate to Sodom. So, Melchizedek came as the priest of El Elyon, which is God Most High, and he blessed Abram. Now El Elyon, the El abbreviated form of Elohim. We know who that is. The name given to God in the creation. He is the creator. Elohim. When combined with Elyon, refers to God as the highest or as the most, which is most exalted high God, the maker of heaven and earth. So El Elyon is the maker of heaven and earth, the most exalted high God, or the most high God. So this is a Melchizedek, and here is what happens when we win our battles. This is what happens when we win our battles. We know we couldn't win. We know we didn't have the wherewithal. We know we didn't have it, but we went to battle anyway. We went to battle anyway. We said, I'm going to do it. I'm just going to do it. And as they say, let the chips fall where they may. But he went with a purpose. And his purpose was to get his nephew and to get all the stuff that they took. And that's what he did. Now, all the stuff he took, he gave Melchizedek a tithe. Now, we'll get to talking tithe in a minute, but he gave him a tithe of all he had taken. He made sure that he knew that battle, that some of it belongs to God. So if you're a representation of God, then here's the tithe. And that's what he was thinking. Now comes when I wanted to share you. When people of power seek to intimidate you, your recourse is to call on the name of El Elyon. God has the right to overrule whatever it is to say. When you lift someone else or some other situation higher than God, you create an idol. And anything that you elevate above the one true God, that's an idol. That's an idol. Now, sharing God's glory. Following the blessing, Abram gave Melchizedek a tenth. Now comes the king of Sodom. And this could be us sometimes. This could be us. After we win the battle, we know we didn't, we know we weren't prepared. We know we didn't have any other things to do to win the battle. We had nothing, but we win anyway, and then we end up winning. Now I want you to look at verse 21, Genesis 14:21. This gives us, some of us sometimes. This gives some of us. We didn't win the battle. But then the king of Sodom said unto Abram, give me the persons and take the goods to thyself. He wanted to, wait a minute. You won the battle. You did this. I want part of it. I want part of it. You take the goods and give me the people, the enemies that you took. Give them to me. As if he was part of. Remember now, he fell into a slime pit. So he had no hands in the battle. See, we may have a hand in the battle, but we didn't win the battle. The Most High God did. We just was a resource to get the battle. Whatever we did, that was a resource. He's the source. We're the resource. So the king said, you give me the people. We're going to split this bounty. In other words, he's telling Abram, we're going to split this bounty. Now, Abram did all the fighting. But the king of Sodom said, I want part of it. I want part of this victory too. I want part of this victory too. And you know it wasn't. He had no parts of that. He was in a slime pit. He had no parts of the battle. But yet he wanted to feel like he had done something. And by feeling like we had done something, we said, okay, I'll take part credit for this. Give me the people. You take all the goods. Now, since Abram had won the battle, he could have kept it all. He won the battle. But the king of Sodom said, give me part of that so I can feel victorious too. Now, when we do things, and God helps us out, in essence, God wins the battle for us, we try to take credit for it. At least not all credit, we try to take part credit for it. And you know, it wasn't. But we do decide that we're going to take partial credit. And when we tell people about the incident, we make sure we say things like, yeah, well, I did this and I did that and I did this, and with the Lord's help, we did this. Now, I want you to understand what that says. With the Lord's help. No, he did it. You didn't have you had no wherewithal to do it. You went to battle, but you had no wherewithal to win. Abram went to battle. With 318 men. The Bible said 318 men. And he's going to fight this army. And he's victorious. So now you tell me. You tell me, not only was he victorious, but he brought captives, and he got back everything that was taken. With 318 men. So do you think that was the 318 men, or you think that was the Most High God, Elyon? Well, the king of Sodom wanted to take credit for that.
He wanted his participation trophy.
Right. He wanted, yeah, right, the participation trophy. You know, he wanted that. See, now, when you read it, you'll see he fell into a slime pit. So he wasn't even at the battle. You know, sometimes we try to fight the battle and we fall into the slime pit and God wins it for us, and then we want to take credit for it. Well, partial credit. We want the participation trophy. And now, this is what separates Abram from everybody else. Verse 22, he says, and Abram said to the king of Sodom, I have lifted up my hand unto the Lord, the Most High God, the possessor of heaven and earth, that I will not take from a thread even to a shoe latchet, and that I will not take anything that is thine, lest thou shouldest say, I have made Abram rich. Now right there, the king had the opportunity to make him rich, but he was like, no, I'm not taking anything. No, I didn't win that battle. You know, I'm not even worthy of a thread from this shoe latchet. I'm not worthy of that. Because if I do agree with this, think about it now, if I do agree with this, then you can go tell people, I made Abram rich. I made Abram rich. Why? It's because I gave him all of the money and the goods and everything that he took from the battle. He just gave, I did that. He said, I just want the captives. You take all the goods. So now the king of Sodom can say that, yeah, he brought all the goods back, but I made him rich. I gave him all of this. Because he said, you give me the captives, you take the goods. So now what the king said. Now think about it. Think about it. He went off and he brought all the stuff back and he gave it back to the king. The king says, you know what? You did a good job. I'll tell you what. You give me the captives, you take all of that. You give me the captives, you take all of that. Abram says, no, I will not. Because if I do take it, then you can say that I made you rich. Because what I'm going to give you is more than you ever had, more than you'll ever need. So, but I made you rich. Because you know now, look, you know it's going to come up in conversation at some point. If he had done that, then he's going to say, the king of Sodom, say, you know what? If it wasn't for me, you wouldn't be rich right now. I made this happen for you. But he said he would not do it. Because he know he didn't do that. So he told him, no, I'm not taking any of that. Because if I do, then you will say, which means you can, that I have made Abram rich. And it wasn't him. He didn't make Abram rich. El-Elyon did. El-Elyon gave him the Most High God. Went with him in battle and took him and made him victorious. But the king of Sodom, once he got all his stuff back, then he tried to make a deal with Abram so that Abram wouldn't be mad, wouldn't hold it over his head. That, I saved you. Here's all your stuff. Your army couldn't do it. But my army, with the Most High God on my side, we went. So here's your stuff back. I just went to get my nephew Lot. And the king being, but the thing about the king being where he is, he feels indebted to Abram. He feels indebted to Abram. So what does he say? Okay, tell you what. You give me the captives, and you take all of that over there. Abram said, I can't do that. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to take anything. Because if I do, then you can say that I made Abram rich. So no, I'm not. So what did Abram say? Save only that which the young men have eaten, which is the army they ate. And the portion that went with me, Aner, Eshcol, and Merari, let them take their portion. Let them have it. If you want to give somebody something, let them have it. But he was not going to allow the king. See, that's what I'm saying is we go to battle. We fall in the slime pit. El-Elyon wins the battle. Brings all our stuff, returns us back, and then we take credit for it. We take partial credit. When we say things like, well, I did this and I did that, and I caused this to happen, I caused that to happen, and with God's help, this. See that? With God's help. You need to change that. Because you fell in the slime pit. You had no control over the battle. You were in a slime pit. El Elyon, the Most High God, fought that battle and won. But yet, when you go tell a story, you're going to take partial credit for it. I did this and I did that. Remember, you didn't tell nobody you fell in the slime pit now. The king of Sodom didn't tell anybody he fell in the slime pit. All he know is that Abram brought all his stuff back. He was not part of the battle at all, in essence. He was not there. So he wouldn't take anything. He said, you give that to, the people that were with me. Give them their portion. Whatever the army has eaten of the bounty, let them have that. But I'm not taking anything. Give them their portion. Give them their portion. He was not going to take credit for that. Now, on page 2, I said here in Isaiah 42 and 8, when you take a look at Isaiah 42 and 8, you'll see when he says, Isaiah 42, verse 8, says, I am the Lord, that is my name, and my glory will I not give to another, neither my praise to graven images. El Elyon won the battle, not Abram. El Elyon won the battle. Abram was just a resource. Surely not the king of Sodom. So, if El Elyon had won the battle, El Elyon would receive the praises due. Abram knew that he could not win that battle. Abram knew it. So he wasn't going to participate in what the king of Sodom had put forth. You take this part, I'll take this part. So he's trying to get part of the bounty too, but he didn't do anything. He didn't do anything. But he wants his people to know that, to feel that he did. Because remember, he's the king now. He's the king. He went out to battle. So the people back in Sodom, in Gomorrah said, you know what? Wow, our kings are going out to battle. But they didn't tell them that those two fell in the slime pit. They weren't even there. They had no parts of winning. So you see, when we fight our battles, we know we can't win. But something inside of us, our spirit said, keep going. And the spirit told Abram to go. Abram said, okay, I'm going to get 318 people. Sure, I'll turn out to be 318 people. And we going. We going to get my nephew Lot. And everything else. We're going after them, after those, after the enemy. So when we go to battle, we fall in the slime pit. It's El Elyon, the Most High God, that fights the battle, that wins the battle. But when we go to tell it, we take part of the credit. That's what the king of Sodom was trying to do. Take part of the credit. He's like, okay, you done brought my stuff back. I tell you what, give me the captives you brought, the people, and you take everything else. So the king can say that, yeah, I made Abram rich. I gave him everything he got. So when we go and fight the battles, and we know we didn't win, We know we didn't win. We know we didn't have the wherewithals to win. We knew that when we left to go to battle. But we knew we had the Most High God on our side. You and the Most High God can take on any army. Take on any army. But Abram wasn't having it. He's like, no. Because if I do take something, then you can say that you made me rich. No, I'm not doing it. So, when we look at verse 14 and 20, we see King Melchizedek. And he blessed be the Most High God, which had delivered thine enemies into thy hand, and he gave him a tenth of all. This means everything that was taken, all of the loot and bound and everything, he gave him a tenth. So, the priest and a king. This is the priest and a king. God is the one that turned defeat into victory, not the 318 trained men. The 318 trained men, they were the resource of the delivery. That's what God used. God used the 318 to win the battle. God uses things to win the battle. These are resources. God is the source. So every battle that we go into, everything with God is the source of our victories. However it happens, that is the resource. So the 318 men were the resource. God is the source. God is the source. Everything else is a resource. God uses his resources to help to win the battle for you. He uses your intellect. He uses, he brings things to your remembrance. He gives you the strength. He does all of these. These are resources. He's the source. And Abram was not going to let King of Sodom get any credit. Because he knew it wasn't him, it was the Most High God that won. How many of us are going to admit that it was the Most High God that won the battle for us? Especially when we're telling somebody. Especially when we're telling somebody. Are we going to bring up El Elyon, the Most High God? Or are we going to say, well, this is what I did? Then we're right back at where the king of Sodom is. We said, okay, the battle is won. I know I fell in the slime pit, but nobody knows that. So now that you done brought the stuff back, now that I've won, all right, when I tell the story, I'm going to tell that I did this, I did that, I did this, I did that with God's help. No. You were just there. God won the battle. God went before you and won the battle. He already had things in place for you to even attempt the battle. But yet you don't want to give him credit where credit is due. And I put here, God is the source. Everything else is a resource. A resource is the means God uses to provide whatever you need or do whatever he wants to do through you. God knows the right path you could take if you would turn your eyes on him and get them off of the problem in front of you. The problem in front of Abram was that they had taken his nephew Lot. And they had taken everything from where Lot was staying. Lot was in a Sodom. So Abram said, wait a minute, y'all, this ain't right. So he went after them. And God was with him. But then he did something. when he saw Melchizedek, who represented he was a priest of the Most High God. He wasn't the priest of man. He was the priest of the Most High God. So he had a standing with God. The priest of the Most High God. Not a priest of the temple. Not a priest of the church. Not a priest of the God. No, he's the priest of the Most High God. The king of Salem, and see, and they've shown that that is Jerusalem. So he gave him a tithe. Tithe or a tenth of what was taken. He gave it to Melchizedek. Because that's what he does. That's what we do. We give a tenth. He said, whatever I give you, give a tenth. Because I tell you this, you give a tenth, he'll make sure you always have that tenth to give. He'll make sure you always have it. But Abram was showing that, and I put here, the tithe is to demonstrate to God that he owns you. That you want him to own you, that you want him to own you, to be responsible for you, and acknowledge that he is your source. So when we give the tenth, when we give the tithe, that is us saying that God, you own us. You're going to you will be responsible for us. And I'm okay with that. And I'm okay with that. Because you are the source. Abram knew that the Most High God was the source. Melchizedek is the representation of the Most High God. He was not the priest of the temple. He was the priest of the Most High God. He was the king of Salem. But he didn't come as the king of Salem. He came as the priest of the Most High God. So when Abram recognized him as the priest of the Most High God, what did he